Jews or Israelites in the city of Loango in Africa in the year 1686. The Jews are a omnipresent people. They seem to exist everywhere. The Jews came into the western Sudan, modern-day West Africa and Central Africa, from northern and eastern Africa. They developed a chain of commercial settlements and cities and villages that were established in their migrations in Africa. The Jews have settled among the most civilized people throughout the ages. They carry their culture, history, laws, and written records with them. Among the people they encountered, they brought with them a higher order of social organization and skills. In a country called Gabon, near the Congo, there were Jews known as Mavumbu. A.B. Proyat, a French writer, says that these Jews held the coast of Loango. In appearance, these Jews are hardly distinguishable from other Africans. However, they observe Jewish ceremonies and live in separate communities, not considering themselves native Africans. The village or villages of these Jews are situated along the Loango coast for more than 100 miles, even south of the Congo River. The Mavumbu Jews were very active in commerce. A.B. Proyat, who wrote about the Mavumbu Jews, was born in the year 1743 and he died in the year 1808. Universal Center for Renovation presents historical and biblical Israelites. This video is strictly for educational purposes and commentary. This video is of biblical and secular historical literature, so enjoy. This young man name is Dom Nicholas, Prince of the Congo. He was born in the year 1830 and died in the year 1860. He was one of the earliest African and the first Angolan ruler who wrote publicly to protest colonial influences. Nicholas protested against Portuguese commercial and political activities and military expansion by publishing a letter in a Portuguese newspaper in Lisbon, the capital city of Portugal. The clothing that Dom Nicholas wears shows that he belongs to the military order of Christ, also known as the Knights Templars. The Order of Christ. Following the dissolution of the Knights Templar, the Order of Christ was erected in the year 1319 and absorbed many of the Knights Templars into its ranks, along with the Knights Templars' property in Portugal. Its headquarters became a castle in Tomar, Portugal, a former Knights Templar castle. The Military Order of Christ considered themselves the successors of the former Knights Templars. After the Knights Templars were abolished on March 22nd in the year 1312, the Order of Christ was founded in the year 1319 under the protection of the Portuguese King Denis, who refused to persecute the former knights. Denis revived the Templars of Tomar as the Order of Christ, grateful for their aid during the Reconquista and in the reconstruction of Portugal after the wars. Denis negotiated with Clement's successor, John the 22nd, for recognition of the new order and its rights or right to inherit Templar assets and property. This was granted in the papal bull ad ex quibus, March 14th, in the year 1319. The Portuguese brought the Order of Christ with them to the Congo and also to Brazil. The Kingdom of Congo supplied some of the earliest transatlantic slaves to the Americas. Many of the enslaved individuals from the Kingdom of Congo were Christians. The Kingdom of Congo had been introduced to Portuguese Catholic Christianity in the late 15th century, largely through Portuguese missionaries. Some of the enslaved people belonged to the Order of Christ, the Knights Templars. The irony of some enslaved Christians who had ties to the Order of Christ is a reminder of the complex and often tragic connection of religion, colonialism, and the transatlantic slave trade. Google AI Overview. While a precise number is impossible to determine, it's estimated that West Central Africa, including the Kingdom of Congo, supplied approximately 5.7 million of the 12.5 million so-called African slaves who embarked on slave ships during the transatlantic slave trade. Here's a more detailed breakdown. West Central Africa's role. West Central Africa, encompassing the region of Angola, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Gabon, and the Republic of the Congo, was a major source of enslaved so-called Africans during the transatlantic slave trade. This map from the year 1451 to the year 1600 gives a slight detail on where the earliest enslaved people, where they were transported to. The first places were the Old World, Europe, places like Spain, Portugal, France, England, and Germany, and also to the Spanish American world or the Caribbean, and lastly, to Brazil. This region in Central Africa was known for its cultural and economic richness. Its societies had a long-standing history of trade, art, and political organization before the Europeans arrived. This area was known for its complex political structures, strong military and trade networks along the Atlantic coast. The area was rich in resources, which made it a focal point for trade, including ivory, palm oil, and unfortunately, slaves. The area was also a place where some of the Jews of Africa, after being expelled from Jerusalem, decided to live. And they decided to place some of their settlements in this very region. This is a very detailed map of some of the colonies and settlements of the Jews in Africa. The Jews who fled Jerusalem after the destruction of that city in the year 70 AD. The destruction of that city was by the hands of the Roman armies. This map is from Dr. Alan H. Godbey. His book, The Lost Tribes and Myth. This book was published in the year 1930. The 1930s map illustrates various communities of so-called Black Jews and Israelites, their communities across Africa. The map highlights the presence of these communities throughout the continent, providing a visual representation of their distribution. This map is located on page 266. Special attention has to be considered for the Jews of the Kingdom of Congo, the region where Prince Dom Nicholas, the Knight of the Order of Christ, lived. One of these communities of Jews were called the Mavumbu Jews. The reason these people are important is because when the Portuguese missionaries made Catholic Christian converts and Knights Templars, it was among these communities that they looked for individuals who would be more willing to listen to their teachings. They were Jews. They already were familiar with the Bible. Google AI overview. Mavumbu Jews, also known as Mavumbu, are a black Jewish community that historically lived near the Congo and Gabon and are believed to be descendants of Sephardic Jews who immigrated to the coast of Angola between the year 1484 and 1499. These communities were Sephardic or Spanish and Portuguese Jews, but also from Jews that lived in Africa for centuries. This is a quote from the book The Lost Tribes and Myth by Dr. Alan H. Godbey, page 250. It seems that the Mavumba may be the remnant of much more numerous Judaism or Jews that were vigorously assailed, converted to Roman Catholicism by Portuguese Christian missionaries or priests. Dr. Godbey explains that originally there were a great number of Jews in this region, but they were converted by Portuguese missionaries and became Catholic Christians. So these men bowing down, holding the Christian cross, were all formerly Jews who became Christians. The migration of the Jews into Africa is confirmed in the Bible. Let me explain. What is now called Sub-Saharan Africa was once commonly called the Sudan. The Bible also uses this name, the Sudan, for this region. The Sudan, a region in Africa. National Museum of African Art. Western Sudan. The Western Sudan covers a vast territory from Senegal through Chad that ranges from areas of desert to grassland to wooded savanna. Sudan is the geographical region to the south of the Sahara, stretching from Western Africa to Central and Eastern Africa. The name derives from the Arabic Balad as Sudan and Ard as Sudan, both meaning the land of the blacks, referring to West Africa and Northern Central Africa. The Old Testament, the book of the prophet Zephaniah, chapter 3, verse 10, from the Good News translation. Even from distant Ethiopia, my scattered people will bring offerings to me. The International Standard Version. From beyond the rivers of Sudan, my worshippers, including my dispersed people, will present offerings to me. the majority Standard Bible. From beyond the rivers of Cush, my worshippers, my scattered people, will bring me an offering. Beyond the rivers of Cush, Ethiopia, Western Sudan, Western and Central Africa. Ethiopia, Sudan, and Cush is used to describe the same region where Jews would migrate to after fleeing Jerusalem, a place they would inhabit while they are in exile. Cush. According to the Hebrew Bible, Cush was the oldest son of Ham and a grandson of Noah. He was the brother of Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. Cush was the father of Nimrod. Cush is traditionally considered the ancestor of the land of Cush, an ancient territory believed to have been located near the Red Sea. Cush is identified in the Bible with the kingdom of Cush, or ancient Ethiopia. Basically, some Jews would live in the land of Cush, a place they could find a refuge far away from the oppression they faced in the land of Israel. On the image on the left, we can see the name of Cush just below Egypt. This is an ancient map, so the region that is called Cush is color-coded in pink. Below the pink region is a region in green, and you can read the word Sudan. In the map to the right, the word Cush is eliminated because the kingdom of Cush was an ancient kingdom and it doesn't exist anymore. And the region is now called the Sudan. And so the land that used to be called Cush is now called the Sudan. But it's the land of Cush, son of Ham, and grandson of Noah, the Noah who survived the flood. Wikipedia, Sudan, the region. Sudan is the geographical region to the south of the Sahara, stretching from Western Africa to Central and Eastern Africa. The name derives from the Arabic Balad as Sudan, Ard as Sudan, both meaning the land of the blacks, referring to West Africa and Northern Central Africa. As we can see in this article, Sudan also includes West Africa and Central Africa. And Central Africa was the land of the Kingdom of Congo. West Africa is called or is known as the Western Sudan geographically. The Niger River is part of the Western Sudan. Article: The Jews of Balad el Sudan, Sahelian Jews, historically known as Jews of the Balad al Sudan. This describes West African Jewish communities connected to known Jewish communities who migrated to West Africa as merchants for trading opportunities. Various historical records state that at one time they were present in the Ghana Empire, the Mali Empire, and the Maasai Empire. and the Songhai Empire, which was then called the Bilad al-Sudan, or the Land of the Blacks. In the latter years, Jews who were expelled from Spain and from Portugal, as well as Moroccan Jews, migrated to communities off the coast of Senegal and on the islands of Cape Verde. These Jewish communities continued to exist for hundreds of years, but eventually disappeared as a result of changing social conditions, persecutions, migrations, and assimilation. Today, only a few thousand retain the identity, and also the transatlantic slave trade. The Jews of West Africa are foreigners in this land, so they were and are called the Jews of West Africa, or Western Sudan, or the Jews of Bilad al-Sudan, or the Jews of Western Sudan. This name, the Jews of Sudan, also, or West Africa, also applies to the Jews of Central Africa, or Angola. And the red circle is a community of the Jews of Loango in Central Africa, or Angola. Google AI overview. In the 17th and 18th centuries, a Black Jewish community existed in the Kingdom of Loango, in what is now the Republic of the Congo and Gabon, and was of interest to race scientists during the European Enlightenment. Loango, a city of the Black Jews, was once an important port for the transatlantic slave trade, and it was a center of trade between European traders and African communities. The enslaved were taken from communities like this one and brought to the Americas. Looking back to the book Lost Tribes, a Myth, we have to remember Dr. Godbey's statement that many Jews of Africa was converted to Catholicism. Eventually, these Christians would be enslaved and sent to the Americas to build up the economies and infrastructure of the different countries of the Americas. The Lost Tribes, a Myth. Quote, "It seems that the Mavumbu may be the remnant of a much more numerous Judaism that was vigorously assailed by Portuguese missionaries." The Loango Coast tribes were once Christianized by Roman missionaries. Dr. Godbey is clear on what happened to the Jews of the city of Loango. They became Christians, converted by Roman Catholic missionaries. Google AI overview. The kings of Congo, particularly Alvaro II, continued the Order of Christ, or the Knights Templars, in Congo after the Portuguese brought it to the Kingdom of Congo in the year 1607, granting knighthoods and using it as a central part of military life and aristocracy. According to the AI overview, the kings of the Congo were active in promoting the Order of Christ, also known as the Knights Templars, in this region. in the Congo. In the 1940s, when J.A. Rogers published his books, Sex and Race, in 3 volumes, and Nature Knows No Color Line, this fact was well known to historians, as he made comments on the Knights Templars among the ancestors of the Black Americans and Latinos. Quote from Nature Knows No Color Line. In Portugal, mulattoes, a term used for Blacks and Latinos of the Caribbean and the Americas. In Portugal, mulattoes frequently rose to high position. They were decorated with the Order of Christ, or the Knights Templars. They commanded Portuguese ships. Black Americans and Latinos played a major role in the Portuguese Navy during the Age of Discovery and exploration around the world. Dom Nicholas was a Knight Templar and a Roman Catholic. Many people from the Kingdom of Congo was Roman Catholics before they came to the Americas. This man is named King Garcia II of Congo, also known as Garcia Alfonso. He ruled the Kingdom of Congo from January 23rd, 1641 to 1661. He is sometimes considered Congo's greatest king for his religious piety and near expulsion of the Portuguese from Angola. He made an alliance with the Dutch against the Portuguese. King Garcia Alfonso was known for his religious piety. So, what was the religion of King Garcia? Well, like many good Catholics, he wore rosary beads and a cross. This king, who ruled from 1641 to 1661, who was a contemporary with King Charles I of England, this king was a pious Roman Catholic king ruling in Central Africa. He became king roughly 20 years after the first slave reached Jamestown, Virginia in the year 1619. In the book, The Military Orders, Volume 8, In a Wider World, quote from the book, the Portuguese granted membership of the Orders of Christ, also known as the Knights Templars, and of Santiago to individuals within Congo as a mark of honor and gratitude for services rendered. In 1512, Pedro de Sousa, who had been ambassador from the King of Congo to King João II of Portugal in 1493, was made a Knight of the Order of Christ, or made a Knights Templar. This is an image of an ambassador from the Congo on the left, visiting the Vatican in Rome. Next to him on the right is Hasukura Tsusenega, an ambassador from Japan, who was also a Roman Catholic. This painting is from the year 1615. 4 years before the first slaves of Jamestown, Virginia, in the year 1619. Pope Paul V was the Pope at this time.